call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Pastor Olson is not here. Okay, so can we just bow our heads for a moment of silence, please? Okay, thank you. Everybody can be seated. Roll call, please, Bev.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Here.
Councilmember Dickey?
Here.
Councilmember Brown is absent, and Vice Mayor Hansen is also absent. Councilmember Yates?
Present.
Councilmember Elke?
Here.
Councilmember Leger?
Here.
Okay, the first item is my State of the Town, so I'm going to do it from down there. Give me a second to get down.
Bless you.
Okay, looks like Mike's got me all set up here. Great. Thank you, Mike. Working great. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. And for those of you who couldn't make it here, thank you for watching at home. It has been my honor to be your mayor for the past 18 months. Much has been accomplished during that time. We can look forward to infrastructure improvements, including the rebuilding of Saguaro Boulevard and the implementation of a good sound pavement management plan into the future. The median on Avenue of the Fountains will get a much-needed makeover with shade and benches and new fountains and an electrical and irrigation system we can count on. It will be a great improvement to our park system for all to enjoy. Our business community finally got the small changes to the sign ordinance they've been hoping for to help their businesses thrive in these difficult times. There also has been a lot of streamlining in government, everything from making it easy for a restaurant to put tables and chairs outside to take advantage of our gorgeous sunshine, to more accessible forms and permits now put on our website for the convenience of the store owner. We've strengthened our partnership with our neighbor, the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation, welcoming in their new president and council. We have pledged to work together to improve the economic climate for both of us, to support each other's events, and to strengthen a lasting friendship. We've developed a good, sound economic development plan to take Fountain Hills into the future years, and have just recently taken on the important task of promoting tourism. All of this has been accomplished with a very limited staff working hard every day, dedicated to their jobs to bring you, our residents, the service you deserve. We are beginning to see building once again in town that will bring in much-needed revenue. These new homes will bring new neighbors to our town that will help our businesses thrive, fill some of those empty desks at school, and help us to continue to pay for the amenities that make our town the great place to live and play. We've expanded our volunteer program, taking advantage of our town's residents' expertise and their very generous gift of their time. This has enabled us to continue many of the wonderful events and programs that have become a part of our lives. We've developed a strong working relationship with other East Valley cities that enabled us to defeat a legislative bill that would have been devastating economically to our town. That fight started right here in Little Fountain Hills and pitted us against the Goliaths of state government, and we won. Of course, with the important help of State Representative John Kavanaugh, who actually was rewarded with a Champion Award from the League of Cities and Towns for his efforts. I promised you when I took office that I would work hard for you, keep our government transparent, listen to what you have to say, and spend every taxpayer dollar carefully. I've also managed to save a few animals along the way. I have kept that promise and reaffirm it to you this evening. Thank you. And now we're going to go on to our slideshow. I want to thank the staff who contributed to this presentation that you are about to see, with a special thanks to Shauna Williams for our reception and for the outstanding job she's done helping me with this presentation. First, we look at how Fountain Hills has moved ahead in 2013. We've managed the difficult fiscal issues while maintaining desirable services and amenities. We made progress with our strategic plan, implemented beneficial policies for our community, improved our parks and other amenities. We've collaborated with local organizations and neighboring communities on mutually desirable projects. We brought innovative special events and more tourism to Fountain Hills. We've managed and upgraded the pavement on our streets and inspired civic pride and volunteerism in Fountain Hills. Our finance director gave a quarterly financial report at our last meeting, so I'm just going to touch on some of the highlights. The first are our revenues. And this chart is just showing you all of our revenue funds and how they're divided. You can see that our general fund makes up the largest portion, and that pays for the most with our fire, police, parks, community center. So that's the largest portion. Then we have the revenue by source, showing you where that money comes from. Local sales tax, biggest chunk. That's why we need our businesses to thrive here. And then we also get money from the state in sales tax and income tax, and we call that our state shared, part of our state shared revenue. And that's given out by the state based on population. You can see that our local sales tax is up from the previous year, which is good news. Retail is up. So thanks everyone for shopping Fountain Hills. You've been doing a great job. Look at the restaurants. The restaurants are up. We're out there eating in the restaurants, taking our families out in Fountain Hills and having a great time. Telecom is up. That means utilities are up. So far it's lots of good news. Construction. Well, we're never going to be where we used to be during the big construction boom. But we're doing okay. You probably noticed that a lot of the developments that were left half done or partially done are now being finished. Fire Rock, the Enclave, those are being finished. And we're also looking forward to some of the larger developments coming in, like Adero Canyon. We've also seen some lots with single-family homes and multifamily homes going up. So it's pretty positive as far as construction. Most of the time, people want to know just how did we do this year as compared to last year as far as spending. And you can see with the different departments, most of it is pretty much the same or a little bit under. Law enforcement and fire and emergency are up, pretty much cost of living. So it looks like we're doing okay from last year to this year. Highway User Revenue Fund. Very often you'll hear us call that HURF, and that's money that we get from the state our share of the pot, which is divided up among all the cities and towns by population. That money can be used for maintenance of roads, not for new roads, but for maintenance. And that money comes from vehicle license taxes, gasoline taxes, but it's all divided according to population. There's a lot of restricted funds. Some are restricted by statute, some by council decision. So you have to pay off your bonds. We set aside money for downtown fund. That's how we're able to redo the median. So this just gives you a little example of that. And the summary is basically that things are looking up. We expect January and February returns to be even higher with our winter visitors here. So this is just until the end of the year, so it's looking pretty good. And now meet our new economic development specialist, Scott Cooper. Some of you have seen him at the meetings, and he is a great addition to our team. He comes to us with a lot of experience in economic development from Scottsdale and Peoria. He's just working part-time, but he's already started doing a great job. We're really glad to welcome Scott on board. Development services. All of what you see here is under development services. So anything to do with what you might think of engineering and roads is all there. Planning and zoning, engineering, building safety, facilities, streets, and the two commissions that are under it are Planning and Zoning and Board of Adjustment. So all of those are under that one heading. Here's our Saguaro Boulevard improvements that we're very anxious to see get started. And the design estimate is to take 6 months, followed by a 2-month public bid process. Construction may start in December of 2014 if all goes according to the schedule, and it's anticipated to take 6 months to complete. And there's a little kind of a artist rendering of what something on our median will look like when it's finished. And you can see we're looking forward to benches and nice gathering area with shades and some light, and it's going to be a great addition to Avenue of the Fountains, and hopefully it's going to bring people out to enjoy the downtown. Pavement management program, this was something that was just implemented and divides up the entire town into 7 districts. Now each district will be done on a rotating basis to maintain the roads that we have. We've already done quite a bit of work patching up the roads, and I think everybody's been pretty happy with the way the roads are looking right now. Sometimes it's a little inconvenient. I know they were just doing some work on Palisades near Avenue of the Fountains, and it was near Fountain Hills Boulevard, and it was a little backed up, and I got stuck in that, and the cones were up, and you know, but it was only a couple of days, and in the end, everything looked great. So we're going to have to be a little patient sometimes if they're working on the road, but I know that the end result is worth it. Recycling. We've been doing a great job recycling. Republic Services has set up the recycling with a new company called Ripple. And at Fountain Hills has been doing a great job recycling. And it's really easy to recycle. You put all your recycles in one can and all your other stuff in the other. It's not like it used to be years ago. In the 80s, we started recycling back in New Jersey, and we had to have 6 big barrels. And we had to divide up every colored glass, every colored plastic. John had to clip all the rings off of the plastic because you couldn't have the metal rings with the plastic. You had to soak off every label. Let me tell you, that was really intensive. You really, really, really had to be dedicated to recycling to do that. But the end result was that in our town, we had the first state-of-the-art recycling facility. And because we had this enormous facility in our town, what they did for us was they gave us free garbage pickup in just our town. So when I saw how great that we were doing with the recycling, everybody knows that the company gets money for the recycling. I sat down with Republic Services and said, you know, can't you give us a little something extra? Because you're making all this extra money, you've got a monopoly in town, and you've got the recycling. So out of that came the Community Grant Program. They're giving us $10,000 every year for a community project. We have a citizens committee made up of only residents that decided on 3 projects, and those projects are decided by the general population of Fountain Hills. You just go online and you vote with your points that you get each time you recycle. And we have 3 going right now. 1 is for the theater, 1 is for the museum, and 1 is for the greening program. So in the end, we'll find out who won for their project, and they will get $10,000. And we're looking for a $10,000 grant every single year. So I think that's at least something else. And Councilman Yates he's up there. And I want to thank him, though, because he's been helping me also in negotiating these extra givebacks with Republic Services. We also got a nice check for the Extended Hands Food Bank, and in a couple of weeks we're going to be talking to them about maybe some other programs. They're interested in doing some more, so we're going to take advantage of that. Community services, there's a lot under that: recreation, tourism, parks, senior services, community center, and those are the commissions that are under community services: the Parks and Recreation, the Senior Services, the Community Center, and the McDowell Mountain Preservation. Recreation, we've expanded some of the events in Fountain Hills, collaborating with nonprofits and with businesses. Sammy Fine Jewelry just had a Love in the Hills in March, the 22nd, actually. We're looking forward to our 2nd annual Kite Festival. And we had the Chinese Lantern and Folk Festival. All of these and others that we have in town are just helping out our business community and helping to bring in more revenue through sales tax. The town also hosts some special events: concerts in the park, movie in the park — my grandson loves movie in the park — extravaganza, and ballet under the stars. That is a very popular one. You notice that really cute bunny on the right there? There's also partners with organizations. We partner with nonprofits, Oktoberfest and St. Patrick's Day celebration, and those bring in much needed revenue for our service groups, who then distribute that to the rest of the town. We had our best turkey trot this year, 1,658 participants. That broke our record. That was really exciting. We also saw that our Kathy Worrell received the Young Professional Award from the Arizona Parks and Recreation Association. And you can't see that bottom line, but that bottom line says that the Fountain Hills Times and Let's Go also received a joint media award from the association. Tourism. We saw the International Trail Symposium held here at the Radisson Fort McDowell in April, and it showcased Fountain Hills and Fort McDowell. We had attendees from every state except Nebraska. What's up with Nebraska? I don't know why they couldn't come. I heard they've got trails. But we had all these other countries, and it was really exciting, and it was exciting for me to go there and do a welcome from Fountain Hills. Parks. We've done lots with parks. You've seen we've done improvements at Golden Eagle Park Ball Field, new scoreboards. We have refurbished water fountains. You know, everything is upkeep. And there's also been a lot of additions to art. But remember, the art is donated. And when I stress that over and over to people, and they still think we buy the art, we don't. The art is donated, sometimes in memory of someone. Sometimes it's just a group that gets together, or one of our civic organizations. So the art around each one has a plaque next to it that tells you who donated, and I know it was a family that donated the new Reagan statue that's very popular. Everybody wants to take pictures with the presidents, and the ring that you see down there called Infinity Ring, that was donated by Dwight Johnson's family. So that's actually, the ring is a favorite with kids. You always see them taking pictures of them in the middle of the ring. It's really nice to see. You also get a nice view of the fountain through it if you take a nice picture and you go down there. So we thank all of our families here in Fountain Hills that donate pieces of art. And you can go around and you'll recognize all the names. Some of the people are year-round residents, and some are just our winter visitors who have donated these beautiful pieces. There's been some improvements to the park. You saw the beautiful mural that was done by the school that's at the park. There's been a lot of projects done through Make a Difference Day, and the master plan for Four Peaks Park was approved, and those, hopefully we would get the funding to put those improvements into action. We've also started what we call the Fountain Hills Integrated Trail System. That's just really a system of a trail that follows a sidewalk that's completed. And we were able to open the first one in April, and that's cutting the ribbon there with the manager, and that looks like Mark Mayer there. And that one, you can follow the trail, and it tells you how far you're walking. You know, not everybody is able to go to the parks and do big hiking, or sometimes you don't always feel like that, and you just want to take a walk, but you want to know how far you're going. And so these are going to be nice trails. And there's quite a few of them that are planned. As soon as we get the sidewalks completed, then we'll be able to open up the new sections. And I believe the next one that we're working on is the Falcon Trail. And as you guessed it, that's the one that's going around by the high school. So we can look forward to that. Senior services. Well, you know, we have a lot of programs for seniors here in Fountain Hills. But the seniors are one of our biggest group that give back to the community. Our seniors are always stepping up to volunteer whenever we need people for events or just anything that's going on in town. You will always see the seniors volunteering. We also have home-delivered meals. And 12 to 13 fiscal year, 6,945 meals were delivered. And that tells you that there is a need in Fountain Hills for that kind of a service. Senior Services also plans health classes for the seniors, besides just activities that are fun. Community Center. Well, we have the picture in the lower left was a really nice visit that we had from the governor. And the other pictures show some additional art and some benches that completed the Centennial Circle. And it's been the scene of weddings. We have a new, we didn't get Mike's picture up there. We have a new staff member who's running the community center, Mike Fensel, and he's doing a great job. He's already booked quite a few weddings for the coming year. And so clubs, organizations use it, and it's just a beautiful facility that we're trying to make more use out of. All right, fire and rural metro. Here we go. Fire department. We have, here's the statistics from the fire department, which show that they did 2,800 calls for service. 89% of the calls were for emergency medical. 8,500 is property fire loss, but over $1 million worth of property was saved from fire damage. So there's our guys right there at work. We had a change in leadership. Fire chief is now Randy Roberts, and our assistant chief is Dave Ott, though Randy Roberts is not a stranger to us. He's been with us for a very long time, so we were very excited when he became our fire chief. And Dave is a wonderful addition to our team. Yesterday was great. I had the privilege of being there for the opening of the addition to the firehouse, Station 1, that's on Palisades, and they have done a fabulous job in there. It's not, as you can see by the next picture, they've not gone overboard. It's not overly elaborate, but it's clean. It has separate facilities for the men and the women, and they have closet space to put their things. They spend a lot of time there. They sleep there, and they do such a great job for us, putting their lives on the line for us, putting their lives on the line to protect our property. The very least that we could do is give them a nice place to stay while they're waiting for the calls. So it looks like they're very happy with their new facility, and I'm glad that we were able to do it. They've done a beautiful job on the outside, too. It looks like a house on the outside, and I think they're very happy with what they have now. Here's the new engine, number 822. Though we don't have all new engines, I was looking at one yesterday that I was told is 15 years old. And we don't just get rid of our equipment. If we can maintain it and keep it, we do that. I was told by the fire chief that if that 15-year-old one had been in Phoenix, it would have been gotten rid of a long time ago. But we don't do that. We try to be fiscally responsible with the equipment, and all of the firemen keep them in really good condition. They had them all nice and washed and shiny for the open house too. So we enjoyed that. It was a good tour. These are some of the other activities that the fire department does. They have the fire explorers. They also relocate snakes, not if they're outside, but if they're in your house, you can call them and they'll come help you with that. I actually had 2 snakes in my house. They were small ones, so I got rid of them myself. But if they were a little bigger, I would have called the guys. They also rescued 2 bats and 1 owl. So they do lots of great things, too. They also have the CARE program, which is something that is needed. It's for especially children in crisis during an event. They will also help you install car seats. And if you don't have little kids and you haven't had an experience with those new car seats, you don't know how difficult it is to actually get it right. The instructions are in English, but to actually get them right, you need a fireman to tell you. And they do it for you to make sure that the little ones are safe. All right, now on to law enforcement. Deputies and detectives. They documented over 80 fraud cases, and those were all related to the Basher computer security breach. Everybody knows about that. Most of us were all caught up in that. And they also, now see, I work with the coalition, and I did not know what a DMT lab was, but apparently we had one here in Fountain Hills, and it's only the second one that's ever been discovered in the state. A DMT is a new hallucinogenic drug. It seems like every time you learn one, there comes up another one. So I'm really sorry to hear that we had 1 of 2 in the state, but I'm glad that our guys were right on it and got rid of it. They've also arrested 2 subjects that were wanted for a lot of burglaries in Fountain Hills homes, and one had actually involved pointing a handgun at the owner. So we're certainly glad that that one was taken care of. They've also made a lot of drug arrests, and in our past year, which they say led to a decrease in burglaries in Fountain Hills. Our resource officer, Deputy Jill, she takes care of the high school and the middle school. She does the drug and alcohol interdiction for the students also. She does the text-a-tip, and that program continues to grow. Also, Midnight Madness. She is just the one resource officer that we have, and she has to divide her time between the two schools. She also sits on the coalition, and she does a great job. Now let's look at our court. Our court, we have a teen court, and they've done 19 cases in 2013, and 6 formal teen court hearings and 13 teen court cases decided by the teen jury panel. And one of our senior volunteers, Joe Nelson, has been a long-time volunteer with Teen Court, besides everything else that she volunteers for. But I have to mention her because anywhere I go, it seems like you see Joe Nelson volunteering. And she loves the Teen Court. She does an excellent job. And we're so happy that she's kept up with that for so many years. Now meet Keith Kaplan, our court administrator. He joined us in 2013, and he's been doing a great job. He's currently recruiting a new presiding judge, but in the meantime, he has been keeping the court functioning by rotating pro tem judges. Keith is a great addition to our staff. Now, I wanted the commissions to be recognized at this state of the town because the commissions do a good job for Fountain Hills. They put in a lot of time, and they are all volunteers. Strategic Planning Advisory Commission, you might sometimes hear us refer to that as SPAC. They've assisted the town in the economic development plan, and they're working closely with the town manager to set priorities for the strategic goals that the council has put out. Then we have the Planning and Zoning Commission. Most people know what they do. They review the plans, sign ordinance, concept plans, special use permits. That's pretty self-explanatory what they do. Public Safety Advisory Commissions, they besides organizing Public Safety Day, which this year is going to be on April 5th, they are assisting with the fire station relocation project, and they also helped with the contract for Rural Metro. We have Municipal Property Corporation that assists the town in acquiring and financing property. Board of Adjustment, they heard 5 variance requests in 2013, including the medical marijuana dispensary, hours and methods of operation. Senior Services Advisory Commission deals with seniors on the elderly, disabled. They work with Senior Services Incorporated to raise money for home-delivered meals, and they also work on transportation services for our seniors. Community Center Advisory Commission, they're proactive in dealing with citizen stakeholder concerns regarding that facility and its operation and its policies, and they work very well with Senior Services and the Senior Services Advisory Commission. Parks and Recreation Commission, that's kind of obvious what they do. They take care of all of our parks, and we do have quite a bit of it. But they also take care of permits, special events in the park. They maintain the fields for the athletics, and they organize the facility use. McDowell Mountain Preserve Commission, they are pretty much focused on our preserve and are looking forward to having our trailhead maybe soon. They're hoping if Adiro Canyon is able to come through. Volunteer program. We have a great volunteer program. We have a staff member who organizes that, Heather Ware. This provides our opportunity for residents to participate and contribute to the operation of the town. We have just wonderful volunteers. They're positive, they're pleasant, they're great ambassadors for the community. We have over 700 volunteers, and this is just a listing of some of the great events. You will probably look at this right now and say, yeah, I helped out on a couple of those, because we do have so many volunteers. And if you are not a volunteer right now, you probably have something up there that you're interested in. And remember, no experience is necessary. Give a Lift program. This is a wonderful, wonderful program where people have volunteered to drive elderly or disabled residents to medical appointments, and they actually use their own cars to do this. To facilitate this, we now have on our website where if someone needs a service, they can post it on the map on the website, which shows their location. And one of the volunteers who's a driver can look and see what is the need, can I do it, am I available that day, and they can actually just go online and accept doing that ride for that particular person. We have some volunteers that regularly just drive the same people back and forth for tests at the hospital or to doctors. It's actually a really incredible giving program. Make a Difference Day, 5th year of the program, also run by our volunteer coordinator. And it's called Make a Difference Day, but if you really want to think about what it is, it's neighbor helping neighbor. That's what it's all about. We do have a lot of people with experience, electrical, plumbing, and carpentry, but no experience is necessary. I know I can't do any of that, but I can paint a wall, and I can do other things. We get tool donations. I know we get sponsorships. Ace Hardware is always one of our big contributors to give us buckets and tools and things like that. But there's room for everybody to volunteer. There's everything from cleaning out someone's yard because they're too disabled, they can't do it, or they're too elderly, or they can't afford someone to do it for them. Just some painting, some fix-up around someone's home. And it's a great feeling. It's just one day that you give up that day to help your neighbor. And I know that there's some people that actually started helping one family, and then even when that day was over, they still go back and help them in the future. So it's also got neighbors together with neighbors. It's a wonderful program. Look for it next year and come out and volunteer just for that day. Mayor's Youth Council. That's a picture of us last year, and that's a trip that we took to the Capitol. We actually just took a trip to the Capitol the other day, and it was wonderful. Was it yesterday we were there? And we had a great tour by State Representative John Kavanaugh. He took us down to the basement and showed us everything about how a bill becomes a law. We got to sit in on hearings. It was just a fabulous learning experience for the kids. They had a great time. Mayor's Youth Council also does a lot for the town volunteering. They volunteered at the Turkey Trot. You might not have recognized one, but she was in the outfit. Holiday celebration. We also have our own street that we adopt. That's Westby. And we, on a regular basis, go out there and pick up the trash. Look at this. Look at our terrific volunteers. You might see her picture in there. There's Jo, by the way. She's standing right next to Heather in the middle picture at the bottom. She's Jo Nelson, who I was talking about. You see the group of kids, that's Maureen. She does a docent art walk for the kids, and she actually wrote the program for them. And then you see some of our other wonderful volunteers that they all doing. There's us doing Adopt a Street, and there's the Captain Joe Rodriguez giving the Mayor's Youth Council a tour of the offices over here. They like the jail the best, of course. That was the fun part. And here's some more of our volunteers. Another Mayor's Youth Council volunteer up the upper left. She did work on our website for a long time, and these are just some of the faces of all the people that help out. Adopt a Street is a great program. You can adopt a street just in your neighborhood with your neighbors, or you can do it as a group. It helps us because of the limited revenue that we have only one landscape company that does our rights-of-way and our medians. And because of that, one section that they do today, they're not going to get back to do that section for quite a while. And unfortunately, we can't seem to stop people from throwing trash out their windows, though I know it's not the residents of Fountain Hills. So we have to get out there and we have to pick it up. So Adopt a Street does that. It helps. And you can do your own neighborhood. I know that Shea is one of our biggest problems for collecting trash, probably because of the fast food restaurants there. There's one organization that does kind of down by the fast food restaurants where the speed limit gets a little bit lower, but where the speed limit is higher, people are rushing by over 50 miles an hour. We really don't want anybody doing that, so we do have the professionals do that. But the trash did start to accumulate quite a bit, and the sheriff sent his chain gang in a couple of times to pick up along Shea. So that helped us out a lot. That freed up our landscaping crew to go on to another section. So we do our best, and so we can use some more streets for Adopt a Street. You'll get your own name on up there that says it's your street, so think about it. Interested in volunteering? There you go. There's lots and lots of opportunities. The easiest way is just to give Heather a call and say you want to volunteer, and I guarantee she'll find you a spot. The Coalition's mission. Through community-wide collaboration, Fountain Hills will work together to reduce youth substance abuse. These are all the organizations that have come together in the Coalition. I'm representing the town, but we also have Mark Mayer, our Community Service Director. We have a church, law enforcement, Captain Rodriguez, and lots of other experts in the field, businesses, organizations, members of the school. The Fountain Hills Times is there. We have experts in the field of anti-drug and alcohol. We have parents, healthcare. All of us come together every other month for a meeting at the school. This is, they do have a regular board of directors that meets, and they have a lot of major successes, Text-a-Tip being one of them. It's a 6-minute MCSO response time. It's been a great help in allowing students to anonymously tell law enforcement about an alcohol party that they know about or drug party that's going on, and that instantaneously, almost instantaneously, gets right to MCSO, and they have had lots of success in breaking up those drinking parties. There's also a Safe Homes Network, which is parents, grandparents. You pledge that you will make sure that there's no drinking, underage drinking, or drug use in your home, and you sign a pledge to that effect. And they have 300 families so far that are signed up. There's also a lot of media that works with the Coalition to spread the word. There's a lot of youth involvement also. Middle school just started the Above That Club, encouraging students down a different path from alcohol and drugs. There was a essay contest, 325 entries, and the winners are actually in the Times this week. The Coalition was awarded at the Hope Award with the best coalition in the state. So that was a great honor. It was a great honor to be there, and there's Dwight Johnson accepting the honor and the award on our behalf. And that's it. And you can't see what it says at the bottom, but it says, working for you to make Fountain Hills even greater. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. So I know a lot of you just came for the presentation, and so I won't be insulted if you want to quietly leave the meetings, and we'll continue on with the other business. That's up to you. Okay, so I'll just take a minute to go up, and you can exit if you want. But thank you all for coming. Turn back on here, and we'll go on to we have to postpone the next section, which was the League of Arizona Cities and Towns was coming here to present State Representative John Kavanaugh with the 2013 Champion Award. but the legislature is going very, very long tonight, so he was not able to be here, and actually the presenter is working just as hard, so we're just going to postpone that for another meeting. Now I am going to go to Council Member Ginny Dickey, and she's going to give us an update on the Maricopa Association of Government Regional Domestic Violence Council meeting, which was held on February 6th.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yes, we had the meeting on the 6th. We had some presentations. We had a report assessing the Department of Public Safety data through a partnership that they have with ACJC, the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission, basically talking about missing dispositions, probably something that Tate knows about, but missing criminal history record information, how it undermines the ability for the justice system to really effectively deal with repeat offenders. So all of these were very detailed reports, and they all had recommendations at the end. I'll tell you how to access that later. We had a group, a survey that was conducted that was gathering victims' perspectives on the handling of when there's a domestic violence case and how it's handled when law enforcement gets there. There were several items where additional training is needed, some of the questions that weren't relevant and others that should be changed a little bit. The City of Mesa came, and this is what I was going to mention to Captain Joe. They have presented a development of a danger assessment tool for addressing domestic violence. It's kind of this card, and I'll give it to you later, but it helps assess the risk of actual fatalities in these incidents to a great degree. We heard from several community partners, which had a lot of good news and successful stories for us. And then at the end, the chair was saying that going forward, they wanted to bring more ideas of relevance of what the committee is doing to our community. So the chair and the vice chair are going to be scheduling one-on-one meetings with interviews, actually, with committee members over the next several months. And at that point, they want to gather information about the overall effectiveness of the Domestic Violence Commission, and then also what each of the members see going forward. So all of these presentations, there's always a lot of material, a lot of good statistics and data, and all of that, including the minutes and the agendas, are always on the MAG website, which is just azmag.gov. Or anybody can always contact me, on the website and that kind of stuff. So there's just so much going on. It's sometimes hard to report on it, but I'm happy to talk to anybody if they'd like.
All right, thank you for that report. Do we have anything in call to the public?
No, Mayor.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the consent agenda. We have 8 items listed. Can I get a motion to accept all 8 as listed?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
And a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Dickey?
Aye.
Councilmember Elke? Councilmember Leger?
Aye.
Councilmember Yates?
Aye.
And Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Mayor 5-0.
Thank you. Now, regular agenda items. Number 9, consideration of amendment number 6 to the professional service agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $135,202 for the Shea Boulevard improvements. Oh, okay. Randy. Hi.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This amendment to HDR's contract for the Shea and Saguaro Improvements Project consists of $82,000 in the design phase, $8,000 for the bid phase services, and $45,000 for construction phase services. Bid phase services and construction phase services have not been included in any previous agreement. So those are brand new cost items as we move towards those phases of the project. The design phase work is needed to coordinate with the recently voter-approved Saguaro Boulevard project reconstruction project, to coordinate with ADOT's recent overlay of the Beeline Highway work, And then several smaller value engineering, adjacent property owner requested and council requested changes. HDR's man-hour rate is the same as their original man-hour rate for the original contract on this project. They've held that the same. I would note that 70% of the costs of this design change order, as well as the construction work, is being paid for by Maricopa Association of Governments Regional Area Road Fund, and the other remaining part of it is being paid for by the town through its project funds. We do have some funding in the project already from McDOT and from a developer. We've added their work into this project, and so they're just paying for the work that is included in the project that would have otherwise they would have had to do. The construction phase post-design work in this amendment includes standard design consultant work tasks, but the inspection of this project construction will be handled under a separate contract, yet to be determined. We anticipate bidding and commencing the construction on this project this summer. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on this.
Okay. Any council questions for Randy or discussion?
Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Lachey.
Randy, thanks for providing a thorough report. I really don't have any questions. If other council members don't, I'll move to approve amendment number 6 to the professional service agreement with HDR Engineering in the amount of $135,202 for the Shea Boulevard improvements.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Cecil, do you have any questions for Randy?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anyone to speak on this item?
No, Mayor.
Any further council discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
Mayor, 5-0.
Thank you, Randy. Number 10, consideration of resolution 2014-12 expressing support for restoration of the Arizona Highway User Revenue Fund distribution to cities, towns, counties, and states and highways. Ken?
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, this is a request from the League of Cities for support from the various cities, towns, and counties in Arizona to urge the legislature to, I guess, reestablish some of the HERF funding. As you remember, highway user revenue funds were established in 1974 for highway maintenance and construction through for the state system as well as the cities, towns, and counties. The collection of that HERF came from gasoline and used fuel taxes, carrier fees, vehicle license at that time. Currently, the town of Fountain Hills approximately gets $1,451,000, and that goes for the operation and maintenance of the street operations, as well as some maintenance activities of our 390 lane miles of road that we have in the community. The consequences for the funding reduction is less resources to funding, and as you know, we have seen some reduction in the past years. From our portion, meaning our portion of that state shared revenue program, to help balance budgets in the state. We're asking for that to be replenished. It will replenish a little over $100,000 back to our fund on that if we, from the numbers that the preliminary numbers that we're seeing. So what we're asking for is if you would look at Resolution 2014-12, which would urge the governor and the state legislature to restore full funding to HERF to the cities, towns, counties, and state highway fund according to the statutory distribution methodology. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and I know that the bill to restore the $119 million for 15 and 16 was passed out of transportation today. So we're hoping that at passing out of there that will go ahead to becoming law. At least for 15 and 16, we will have that additional funding. Any speaker cards on this?
No, Mayor.
No. Does anyone have any comments about the HERF funds? Okay.
Mayor, Ken, what do you think the league is going to do with these resolutions? I know they were requesting all the cities to do them, so are they going to present them at some point?
If it's adopted, staff will send it to the governor, and all the senators and representatives supporting that, and to the league.
And I could just add that the league did present those to the Transportation Committee this morning also, so I'm sure they're just going to pass them along to the next committee.
That's good, Mayor. The, related to the report that you just gave, talking about roads and about what staff has been doing because of lower funds and, a town of our size taking $700,000 out of a budget and out of a general fund and using it strictly for roads. It's really directly related to this in a big way, so very happy to make the motion if everybody's ready for that.
Okay, but I also want to say that thank you for also calling in your approval of this as I did, because the more names that were on the list for the bill, I think that made make a big difference. So would you like to make a motion?
Sure, thanks. Move to approve Resolution 2014-12 in support of the restoration of Arizona Highway User Revenue Fund distribution to cities, towns, counties, and state highways.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any other council discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Mayor, 5-0.
Okay. We'll go to discussion with possible direction to staff related to any item included in the League of Arizona Cities and Towns Weekly Legislative Bulletin or any action proposed. And I'm going to go to Ken, but I also wanted to talk about 2587, so I don't know if you want to, do you have anything you want to do first?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, again, you have an overview from the league on some of the bills of note. Be happy to discuss any that, or any that you know of or heard of, council members that you've heard of that have been discussed in any of the committees of the legislature.
Okay. All right, then I would like to bring up H 2587, the livestock animal cruelty violation. This is one that I've been working with the Humane Society on to fight this bill. And unfortunately, it passed out of committee with very few amendments that would even help. I would like to explain exactly what this is and how detrimental it will be if it gets passed. There was testimony by Kathleen Mayer, who was a prosecutor with Pima County, and she works with Animal Cruelty Division. She also trains law enforcement on how to investigate animal abuse cases so that they are prosecutable when they finally do get to court. And according to this bill, the Director of Livestock will now spearhead all investigation of animal cruelty related to livestock, which includes cows, horses, sheep, goats, or any animal considered working on a farm or ranch, and that could be a dog, commercial or recreational. She told a story about someone from her neighborhood, an elderly couple that owned a Barbados sheep. They had raised the sheep from a lamb, and now the baby was 15 years old, but they still loved this sheep. One night, some drunken adults kidnapped and stabbed the sheep to death. They called 911. Pima County Sheriff's Office arrived in the middle of the night. They collected evidence, including the weapon that had DNA from the perpetrators, and that led to their arrest. According to this bill, the couple would have had to call the Director of Livestock to investigate. They don't have enough officers for the entire county. As a matter of fact, they have about 10. They also do not investigate dead animals, so they wouldn't have come out. They don't investigate any crimes at night, only during regular business hours. That would have left this elderly couple with no investigation in the death of their sheep, and the perpetrators will still be at large to do it again. What else does this bill do? It reduces animal cruelty charges from what it is right now, a Class 6 felony, and makes it a Class 1 misdemeanor. Another example of what this bill does: if a dog is a working part of a ranch or a farm and the dog is abused or killed, the Director of Livestock's department has to investigate. And even if the perpetrator is found guilty, it's only a Class 1 misdemeanor. That, to me, is a license to abuse animals with impunity. It takes away the investigative power of our local law enforcement and turns it over to an agency unequipped to handle the cases. The sponsors of this bill have thrown in a section making hoarding of domestic pets a crime and some other protections for pets. But these acts of abuse against pets can already be investigated and prosecuted by local law enforcement. So I believe this section is just a smokescreen to blind us to the other section dealing with livestock and what goes on farms and ranches. This bill also strips away a city or a town's right to enact an ordinance related to the treatment of livestock, including horses, that is more prohibitive or strict than this bill. One other aspect of this bill: many animal abuse cases are reported by individuals, perhaps neighbors witnessing the abuse of horses, which we've seen in the past. This bill will require that the witness turn over any evidence within 5 days to the Director of Livestock, or he or she faces prosecution. This section will only act to deter witnesses from coming forward in animal abuse cases. I challenge anyone to tell me that this bill will prevent animal cruelty or strengthen the current law. It won't. And I would like to make a motion that this council oppose 2587 and that we send that on to the legislature. There's a motion on the floor. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any council discussion?
I have some questions for legal, if I could. Andrew, what are the provisions in the town code for livestock in the town of Fountain Hills?
Well, I'd have to take a look to be certain what range we have, but typically they're only roaming at large and more of licensing provisions for domesticated pets. We don't really have much focusing on anything beyond that.
I guess my question is, within the town, is one able to own and house a horse, let's say, for example, at their residence?
Yeah, we do have several.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Does that include other types of livestock as well? Cattle?
I don't believe we have a prohibition against cattle, sheep, or chickens or other things, but I'd have to take a look to be sure.
I guess my question is, I'm wanting to make sure this has an impact on the town of Fountain Hills, that we're not taking up a cause, although it may be a good cause, but I want to make sure that we're doing town business and not putting ourselves out there for something else. Are you looking up something, Andrew?
I'm looking to see if we have a specific provision on prohibiting the other kinds of animals.
Okay.
Councilwoman Digby?
Thanks. I think one of the connections that was made has to do with law enforcement's ability to investigate. So I think if you wanted to make a connection with a city's rights, you'd probably look to that. At least that's my opinion of that.
And I think we have a responsibility, since we have a mutual agreement with all of our other East Valley mayors and cities, that we not only look at just Fountain Hills, but we have a broader picture of what's out there, and we do what's right, whether it's just for our town or whether it's for our county or whether it's for our state. We do what's right. And I believe that it's right to oppose this bill. I don't like the idea of tying the hands of law enforcement in enforcing any kind of animal abuse. And I also don't like the idea of telling law enforcement that they can't investigate certain crimes. If they feel that a crime has been committed, then they should go ahead and investigate it. Our own MCSO sees a crime, they should investigate it. They shouldn't have to worry that, oh, I can't investigate that because that's under the Department of Agriculture. So I would like to see us oppose this. I have already signed on at the legislature in opposing this on my own. So I have a motion, if there's no, I'm sorry, Andrew?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the town code specifically restricts animals being kept in town except if the zoning provides that exception. And so I was trying to determine how many of our zoning categories actually allow it, and that's the link I don't know. I do know that we have some in town that allow for them, but it is, the list of prohibited is horses, mules, cattle, burros, goats, sheep, or other livestock, pigeons or poultry within the corporate limits of town. So that would be the chickens we referred to before. Otherwise, the other one that is specifically listed is swine, so no pigs. Household pets is a pretty broad definition of pretty much anything we would normally have: cats, dogs, birds in cages. And then you can't harbor or maintain more than 4 household pets within any town, which is interesting. There's probably a few violations of that we won't be prosecuting anytime soon. And then, of course, the live animal inducement prohibition that we put in the code last year.
Okay, any other questions? Cecil, do you have any questions?
No, that last one made me a little nervous. I have 2 dogs, a cat, and a hamster.
All right, you're okay. All right, I have a motion on the floor, can I get a second?
I had a question. I think it's already been seconded.
You did, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Andrew, or whomever, what's the league's position on this bill?
I have that because we had it in the last league update. We have that one attached to that.
Actually, I see something here, Mayor, at the bottom of one of our reports, if I may. HB 2587 regarding animal abuse negotiations are underway on a bill regarding the inclusion of horses, the role of law enforcement, and other details. A number of groups, including the League, have concerns about this bill as written. So is the bill in its final stage now? I mean, is there more to come? Should we?
There's more to come. It passed out of the Committee of Agriculture, but they expected it would do that because it favors livestock and livestock industries. But now I believe it goes to rules and then Committee of a Whole. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think that's it. I don't think it's going to another committee, so not if today.
So I guess my question is, Andrew, or whomever, Mayor, is the bill in the final stage? I mean, whether I'm approving something or opposing something, historically we take a look at, if it's in its final stages in terms of being written. I don't know if it's been revised. There's a possibility it may be revised. So I'm reserving my judgment until I know specifically if the bill is in its final stage.
And we can quickly find out if it's in its final stages or not.
Okay,
I was just
thank
going
you.
to comment on
Thank
that,
you,
just
Mayor.
in general. Another example of a bill that wasn't in its final stage was the library cap bill. We did take a position on that. It has changed so that it is actually now acceptable to the library board and the county, which I wanted to just report on anyway, because I sent that strike everything amendment to the library board and the Friends of the Fountain Hills group, and they wrote me back and said that it was acceptable. I'm not really opposed to taking a position because those often help shape the changes, like maybe the fact that we opposed that library bill, or, well, you know what I mean, the cap bill, could have helped in that negotiation. Another thing I just wanted to mention about this bill was that I have received a couple of emails from residents of Fountain Hills very upset with this bill, so I, kind of in the same spirit of what happened with the library bill, I would be fine with opposing this bill as it is, and if it gets fixed and better, then that would be great.
Yeah, it also passed out of the committee not unanimously. There were 2 members of the committee that opposed it.
And Mayor, for Councilmember Lejay's question, I don't know if the Alice website is fully up to date, but it does not show any action in rules yet. So it hasn't yet made it out of both committees it was assigned to in the House. And I think the deadline, isn't it this week?
Supposed to be tomorrow.
So
Yeah,
tomorrow's the deadline to be
that's-
heard in committee in the House of Origin. So
Yeah.
if it doesn't go out tomorrow, then it'll have to come back to life as a striker somewhere else.
And I know the sheriff's office has come out opposed to it. They had someone come to speak, and they said they would be willing to sit down and negotiate to make some changes. But as the bill is written right now, I would like to see us oppose this bill. So I have a motion and a second on the floor. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Yates?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickey?
Aye.
Councilmember Elke?
Aye.
Councilmember Lejay? And Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Mayor 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, on 2379, which was the library cap bill, as you can see, there was a striker that was introduced, and it basically took the cap away and required that the truth and taxation language, which we all live with, cities, towns, counties, be included to that, so that the library district now has to comply with that during their budget process. We still need to continue to monitor this and find out what's going to happen with it. I haven't heard anything new other than the briefing last week with the number of other towns that were concerned about it because they had the same effects that we were going to experience with their regional libraries from that. I don't know if anyone's heard anything else different, but we need to monitor this striker.
The only thing I heard was that the library board right now was satisfied with the way it's written as long as it's not changed.
Mayor, yeah, and they agreed to let us
Also?
know if something changed.
Right,
Yeah,
they'll
there's-
keep us up on it.
Right. But as written, all it does is just provide truth and taxation, which is the budget process. You do public hearing with it and go through that. So the cap appears to be gone
Yeah, it's
with that.
on.
Yeah.
Which is great. We got,
Two more.
and what else do you want to?
Well, 2 more, actually. 2378, which was the fee bill that we talked about, that we took a motion to check what the ramifications were going to be. It passed out of committee 6-0 with support by our legislators. So I would like to know, Ken, if you were able to find out, I think what our motion was to figure out what the ramifications of that bill would be to Fountain Hills about being able to charge fees for anything.
We haven't been able to get to that, Jenny. We'll try to, finances, they're at a GFOA conference right now. So as soon as we can get some information to find out if there's any significant impact to that, we will certainly let the council know.
Well, Mayor, Ken, not to be burdening our guys, what I was trying to figure out is, again, and Andrew agreed with me, why this seems to be moving, why all the cities, not just like, well, it'll be this amount of money for Fountain Hills, but if you're looking at saying we can never charge fees for anything that we do as a public service, obviously any revenue that we get is that really the ramification of this bill? So we don't even really need necessarily our staff to do a lot of work on this, but I would think there'd be a lot of people working on it. And again, as it passed unanimously, the Democrats voted yes on it too. So I'm just wondering, what is the story on why this thing is going forward, and people don't seem to be alarmed by it?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Dickey, I'm not sure what the story is with this one because I believe the league is opposing it, and it is yet steamrolling along. And I don't know. I know it's an ATRA bill. I know that the genesis of it is an anti-tax bill, but it is, in its current form, there's no way to read it other than a prohibition against fees for building permits and all kinds of things that we do. So I'm not sure why we haven't had response from our elected folks on this bill to give us some assurance that there's an amendment coming that'll make it as narrow as it was intended, or that it's moving forward with some other purpose or otherwise. But we just can't get the information on this one that we'd like to have.
I will say that there was a East Valley Managers meeting last week, and this was brought up, and the executive director of the league was not concerned about this bill. Or it appeared that at that time, that the way it was the way he described it is that you have to look at it in its entirety. Well, there was a number of cities that were concerned about it, and were discussing it at the time. But we haven't heard any movement from, if the league is going to use it as a priority yet.
Okay, well, I would have thought to maybe make a motion, but that seems pretty specific. I just wish I knew why they think it's okay, because it doesn't sound okay at all.
Mary, if I may.
Yeah.
And Andrew, I mean, it sounds like we're at a bit of a disadvantage as far as information. Everybody seems to say, we're not sure why this is moving along, not steamrolling along. And, at this point, I'd rely on legal. I mean, how do you interpret this bill if it is to pass, Andrew? How will that affect or potentially affect us as a town?
I think it's pretty clear that this bill, if passed in its current form, could be interpreted broadly for someone to claim that the town is not authorized anymore to collect fees for any services it provides.
What would those fees, just give me a handful of fees in the town that would impact?
Well, and because the bill is limited to fees charged for square footage of a home or a facility, any fees that are calculated based upon the square footage, like our building fees, for instance, are calculated based upon the size of the buildings in some cases. If you had any kind of a stormwater fee like we've talked about before, that's by rooftop area. Some fees are universal, just one thing of this is one of that, and those wouldn't be affected. But we have a number of fees within our building codes that would be affected by this provision.
Right, and because we rely so heavily on building when there is building, and we've got some coming up, and without more, I mean, I feel a little, again, at a disadvantage not knowing why, and if legal is telling us that it could impact us, I would make a motion that the town oppose House Bill 2378.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, 5-0.
Okay. Do we want to do any discussion on 1413, the electricity exemption? I think we talked about how that's going to affect Fountain Hills.
Well, it is, there's some language in there that does exempt or prohibit the town from collecting sales tax on electricity used from any manufacturing facility. Now, that can be anything from it can be interpreted everything from your garage to, if you're building something in your garage and using electricity to do that, all the way up to an industry that is manufacturing something or producing something that uses electricity. I've asked finance to take a look. It's difficult to find out how much we actually have because it is a little bit ambiguous on that side. I would recommend to go ahead and just give an opposition to that until we know more about it, because as written, it's of major concern. For us, I'm not sure how much it's going to be, but in general, that when you start looking at it, especially with the other cities and large manufacturing plants, that's significant. Mm-hmm. When you start looking at megawatts that large plants are using, and all of a sudden sales tax can't be generated off of that, that becomes significant.
Right, and we do get a share of that state part of the sales tax, even if it's not Fountain Hills.
Yes.
Throughout the state.
Yes.
So
And this applies to everyone.
Yes.
I mean, not state, cities, towns, and counties.
Mm-hmm. All right, then, if there are any other questions, if not, I'd like to, yes, go ahead.
Just one thing to make it more relevant also is that our senator voted yes for this. So as these things come forward that actually affect our own legislators, then maybe that gets more attention too.
Okay. Anyone else have a question or a comment about 1413? Anyone like to make a motion to oppose 1413?
Mayor, I'd move to oppose Senate Bill 1413.
And second? All right. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Mayor,
All right.
5-0.
Thank you. I don't have anything else that I want to bring forward.
I think Councilmember Dickey, didn't you have two more?
Do you have a couple
Yeah,
more?
it's just one bill. Well, it's
Okay.
actually two bills that are the same. 2153 called Exercise of Religion, State Action, and 1062, which is the Senate bill, which is just like it. The Senate bill passed and has gone to the governor. 2153 was being debated on the floor as right before this meeting, and it did eventually pass. It was a very long discussion and a very heated discussion. The bill will likely go to the governor on Monday, so there'll be those 5 days that that the governor would have it. 1062 is probably going to be around the same boat. Originally, the league opposed the bill, which, according to the league, expands the definition for the purposes of expressing religion to include individuals, associations, partnerships, corporations, churches, and business organizations. The measure allows a person to seek relief through a judicial proceeding for the alleged infringement of their religious beliefs, regardless of whether the government is a party to the proceeding. The discussion, even though obviously it's a kind of a very subjective discussion, the part that the towns are involved with has to do with business and economic development. The bill provides protection for business owners if they refuse a customer because, for whatever reason, that customer violated the business owners or the business's religion. And so this was in the Tucson paper, and then I was reading, I don't know what I just did with it, it was something about the economic impact, and now I can't find that. But I'm not assuming that we would take a stand on this necessarily, but I wanted to point it out that right as soon as it passed, online went very, very active. There were a lot of parallels made to when the Martin Luther King, when Governor took that holiday away and the effect that had on the state of Arizona, the effect of 1070 on the state of Arizona, a lot of talk about how we're on the verge of the Super Bowl and other things that we're trying to dig ourselves out of and get a better reputation, attract the businesses and do all those things that we want to do for the state of Arizona, and how this is being viewed as not necessarily assisting that kind of goal. So I wanted to bring that up. I will likely, it's too late now to try to do anything in the legislature with it, but the only action really would be to ask the governor to veto this in light of the economic damage that is being discussed as a possibility of this bill. I won't even put it really on the table because I know that Representative Kavanaugh and a lot of these, and Representative Reagan and everybody already voted yes on this. So I just wanted to express that I think it's a damaging thing in a couple of ways, but as related to the city, the town, I think it's damaging to our reputation and to the state of Arizona's ability to get out of this economic challenge that we're in.
Okay. Did you say that the league was, the last note I had was that the league was saying neutral on this.
Yeah,
Is that
they're
still
now called neutral with concerns.
neutral with concerns? That's a new category? All right, so this is one we need we'll keep on our radar and we'll see what happens. Anything else? Do you have any other things? Any other bills you want to bring out for today? Okay. All right, so it looks like we did some good work with that. We'll get that, Ken, our liaison to the legislature. We'll see that. Cecil, do you have anything? I don't want to forget you. Are you still there?
Sorry, Mayor, my mute button wasn't working. No comment. Thank you.
All right, then if there is nothing else, we have our new category of summary of council requests, report on recent activities, Does anyone like to report on any activities you've already talked about? Your committee, your MAG, domestic violence, and I'm glad we have that as a special presentation. Do you have anything else that you'd like to?
Mayor, I just wanted to mention,
Tell us
and
about
maybe Ken will update me on this, but on February 4th, we received notification from Cox that they were talking to KTVK Channel 3 and KSAW Channel 6 to renew their agreement for the right to continue to carry those channels. And they were supposed to have a deadline by the 28th to come to an agreement, or those channels potentially could be dropped. So I wanted to make sure that the town, that the residents knew about that. I don't know. They offer that you can contact Cox customer, or you can, obviously ask anybody on our staff, because it's just a phone number here, but I really thought that might be something people would like to know.
Okay, that's good. Anything else?
Mayor, yes, if I may, just a quick comment. I think it fits into this category in that it's a recent activity in town. Our women's soccer team won the title of their division, so we want to put out a big shout out to them, to those gals, for doing a great job. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Okay. Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, thanks, Cecil.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take them.
To turn off the music, press 1.